Senator Stephen Conroy is the Communications Minister. He's laying down the law to Telstra. He joins us now. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Fran.
Now, Minister, you've been described since this announcement yesterday as a standover man accused of holding a gun to the head of Telstra. That's what you're doing, really, isn't it?
Look, we believe that there has been a failure in the competition policy regime in the telco sector that stretches back, as was mentioned by Michelle, nearly 20 years. And the opportunity is now here as the copper network begins to degrade in the ground and isn't going to be able to deliver the superfast broadband. What we're seeing is the end of the copper era and the beginning of the fibre future. And this is an opportunity to sit down with Telstra, and those discussions, can I make clear, have already commenced. We're already been in discussions with Telstra. We're not going to be commenting publicly about how those discussions are going or what is in them, because this is a hard-nosed commercial negotiation. But Telstra have been engaged in very constructive discussions with us. Their new leadership is showing a very constructive approach about how we can deliver a national broadband network vision that this country so desperately needs.
If you can't tell us what was going on in those talks, can you give us a sense of the vibe of them, shall we say? Is Telstra not going to buck your ultimatum? It's going to play ball. Well,
David Thodey, talking to investors in New York last week, publicly said everything is on the table.
Okay. Structural separation is a difficult concept for most of us to get our heads around. In simple terms, what are you saying this breakup of Telstra will deliver?
Well, what we know is that internationally, Australians are paying too much for their broadband compared to overseas countries, and we have slower broadband speeds. That's because we have the most vertically integrated telecommunications company in the world. And that has allowed Telstra's wholesale business to be able to give more favourable treatment to its retail business than it gives to other retail customers. And that's allowed this situation to arise where Australians are paying more and getting slower speeds.
So it will give us faster broadband, it will give us cheaper phone calls?
That is more competition coming into the sector. Excuse me. That's what the consumer groups are saying today. That's what the Telstra's competitors are saying today. They're saying this will open up competition. This will drive down prices.
Now, you keep saying this is a choice that Telstra faces. This is an offer. They can do this. But you are holding a gun to their head, because if they don't do it, A, they're going to get clobbered on a whole number of things, which I talked about at the beginning there. But you're also going to force them to do it. You're going to legislate to effectively make sure structural separation occurs anyway. Is this what negotiations with Telstra have come to? Not really negotiation, but threats?
Well, Telstra's previous management had a very, very simple and direct approach to both the Howard government and ourselves. They believed that they knew what was best for Australia. We take the view we're governing in the national interest. Our job is to deliver the best possible infrastructure that will see Australian kids get the best educational opportunities, Australian small businesses get the best opportunity to sell their wares interstate and internationally. We believe that there's a revolution in healthcare and education and aged care and smart grids that are all sitting there waiting to come onto this new fibre future. It can't be delivered across the traditional copper infrastructure that's in the ground. We're moving into a new era. So there's a unique opportunity for Telstra, a unique choice do Telstra want to be part of the fibre future? Do they want to be part of the new mobile spectrum, which will deliver these exciting new applications on mobile phones? Or do they want to just stay as they are? And we're saying there's a real choice here for Telstra. We believe we've got a very constructive dialogue going on. And we believe there is a real opportunity to deliver a win for Telstra shareholders and a win for Australian consumers.
You keep saying that, a win-win. How is it a win for Telstra shareholders? Certainly in the immediate, their share price has dipped, and Telstra is going to lose market share here. It's going to cost it.
Well, what we're going to see is a change in the structure of the sector, which will drive competition. And what we want to see is prices coming down because of that increased competition. We've seen...
Yeah, prices will come down. That's not necessarily going to help Telstra shareholders.
Well, what we have to do is govern in the national interest. We have to...
I accept that, but then no way can you portray this as a win, can you, for Telstra shareholders?
Well, I believe that we will be able to reach an agreement with Telstra. That is certainly our objective, and I believe from the constructive way that the new leadership shown by David and Catherine, that they committed to delivering a win for their shareholders. So I believe that that is a real possible outcome. There wouldn't be any point in engaging in those constructive discussions if we didn't believe we could deliver a win-win for both the parties involved. But for those who want to make a meal out of one day's movements in the share price of Telstra, when Nick Minchin, with fanfare, announced Saltra Heo taking over as chairman of a CEO of Telstra, you actually had a share price at $5.20. When Saltra Heo departed the country a few months ago and Nick Minchin congratulated him on his regime, the share price was at $3.20. That's a massive, around $30 billion loss in shareholder value for Telstra shareholders.
Minister, you say this is all about the fibre future, but there's definitely a political imperative here for you, isn't it? This is all about getting Telstra on board the NBN project, the National Broadband Network project, the $43 billion project the Rudd government's committed to. Australia, there's no way we could afford to have two networks in operation, yours and Telstra's. You need Telstra's customers and you need Telstra's infrastructure, don't you? You have to have Telstra on board with this, so therefore structural separation has to occur.
Well, we've made it clear from the day we announced this, we would welcome private sector investment. We would welcome a Telstra or an Optus or any of the other telcos that we've been speaking with over the last few months, who've all expressed an interest in vending their assets into the National Broadband Network. I would agree with your proposition that what we've seen in the past with infrastructure competition has not delivered substantial benefits for consumers. Just like with the HFC rollout, when Telstra and Optus's vans went down the same streets, dug up the pavements twice, hung two cables from the wires, led to a disaster. Optus at that stage lost $5 billion. Telstra lost plenty of money as well, but was prepared to protect its incumbent position. And what you're seeing today is an acknowledgement that infrastructure competition has failed to deliver on the policy objectives that when it was created. And we believe we now need a wholesale-only open access network that will deliver to all consumers, deliver to all of the telcos equivalent treatment. And that's why we believe it's necessary to go down the path of the National Broadband Network.
Okay, and what's the offer for Telstra? If it plays ball, if it vends its assets to NBN as part of this deal, what does it get in return? Does it get a promised percentage of this new NBN company? I think it's on record as saying it would like 49% in return for the trade-off.
Well, we've said that we're prepared to provide an equity stake in the new company. That's the first point. There is also issues around how the separation will take place. We have an open mind about this, and that's what those discussions with Telstra are partly engaged in. We're not going to be speculating on the individual parts, the individual negotiations in the public, because I'm sure this is a hard-nosed commercial negotiation. You've got Macquarie Bank backing up Telstra, you've got McKinsey's and KPMG backing up NBN Co and the government, and that is about as hard-nosed a commercial negotiation as you get. So I'm sure you'd understand we're not going to be canvassing these issues publicly.
Minister, thank you very much for your time on Breakfast.
Thank you very much, Fran.